Joining us now on Can Media is Greg Stringham with the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers. You're one of their VPs.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about the session that you moderated today.
Well, we had a panel of really good experts in the field of energy and environment. And the real key we were looking at is how does North America cope with this dual challenge in front of us of the opportunity for growth that's coming from the vast resources that we have here, the bright innovation that's coming from our industry, along with the social need for responsible development, social impact, and environmental impact. And where's the blend, and how does innovation help that?
So what did you hear anything today that stuck out for you?
I think for me, it really came down to the point is you got to have that balance. It can't be just one or the other. If you focus solely on either one of those things alone, you're not going to be able to achieve the overall objective, which is the benefit for all of us. But I also heard from people saying that you really need to make it personal. You know, here's how I am going to do this. Here's the innovation and how to move it through the system, and some really good suggestions I heard on how to accelerate the innovation in the industry on both of those issues.
And how would you do that?
Well, what the panelists said, not me, but as the panelists were saying, is that they actually need to move very quickly to find the ones that are commercial, that work for either the environmental solutions or that can be adopted by the social group out there, we as the public, to understand that this industry is working environmentally and move them through the system quickly. Often they get stuck and don't move as quickly as they need to. They gave some very strong suggestions to the people in the room that have those ideas on how their companies are looking at that.
I heard one phrase, and that's open data or open data. How did that apply?
Well, I think as we move more and more into this discussion of all these issues, I think data is a double-edged sword that we live with every day. The more data that's out there, everyone's looking at every angle and every piece of what's happening with the industry. But that allows us to be transparent. And the industry that is transparent really distinguishes us from other countries where that transparency is not there. Sure, we may get attacked because there is some elements of that data that people haven't seen before, but the commitment to being transparent will build that social ability and the reputation of the industry and the governments to be able to develop this resource for what the world needs.
Do you think there's more room for the industry to become transparent? Because recently a media outlet in the province did a story about transparency and says it's difficult and expensive to get information out of the provincial government, whereas in the United States you can go to one of the government websites and download all kinds of information about oil wells, and it's free.
Yeah, and I've looked at the US ones, and they're looking at the production side. What I'm talking about is on the ones that the people and the public have said that they care about, which is environmental health and safety issues. And that does need to come together, but the Alberta government has now established a portal on the website that you can go for that one-stop shopping of the raw data, not interpreted data that others have said, well, this is what I think of it, but here, go get the real data source that's there. The example I often use is the Wood Buffalo Environmental Association. Put in place several years ago, several air quality monitoring trailers all over northern Alberta in the Fort McMurray region. That's all available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for you and I to go take a look at, and people have been able to manage it and watch it, and it has not become a big social issue. Where you start to actually not have that transparency, people get concerned or they're uncertain because they can't see the data.
Well, it's interesting because one of the questions came out about the industry's reputation and how do you clean up that reputation. And if I remember correctly, the person actually said, do you know of any other industries who have had this sort of reputation and have actually come through it? What does the industry have to do outside of transparency to convince the public that it's doing the right things and in the public interest as well as making money?
I think the industry has to have two things that we often look at to affect our positive reputation. One is we have to have solid, really good performance. Environmental performance, safety performance, you have to demonstrate and really have to stand on that performance, environmentally as well as socially. And then you have to communicate well. You have to get people that understand that, and you have to put those two together so you can talk about that performance. For us, communications and performance are the key to changing that reputation. We've seen it in other industries. Petrochemical industry many decades ago went through an issue like this. The forestry industries tried to work through these issues as well. Other industries have done that, and the secret that they have seen, or the formula that they have used, is solid, real performance that you can talk about rather than just kind of saying, we're going to do this in the future. What are you doing now? And tell me about it so that it means something to me.
Do you think you can change the public perspective out here?
I mean, we do polling all the time. It depends who in the public. Right? As you look at the general public, most of them are very accepting of this and know that they need to have it. But you'll always have extremes at both ends, one of which who doesn't want to see any development at all, and others that are really pro-development. But really what we're trying to talk to is the middle large majority that are saying, if you can do this environmentally responsibly, we want to see the benefits that come from it.
Greg, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We've been chatting with Greg Stringham, VP with CAPP.